The very first Lorcana video I ever did was Amber Amethyst. We're in set 5 now, but we're back with Amber Amethyst again. I did do a deck breakdown on this one with the deck list, however, linked down below. I will have it. We got 4 match replays. They're just a couple games against some of the decks you should expect to play against. The first one is going to be against Steel Song. We're going to go first against Steel Song. I think I actually have 3 replays for some, but don't quote me on it. Very ill prepared. I should write scripts or something, like for myself, like so I know what I'm doing, not like because I'm good at it. Anyway, versus Steel Song going first. How do you approach this matchup? Daisy Duck helps a lot because her 4 willpower helps to push through those early threats of Let the Storm Rage On and Strength of the Raging Fire. That's huge. If you get to Daisy Duck, you're in a much better spot. We do see a Maleficent in our hand. Friends on the other side, the Gale Wind Spirit. I like this card a lot for the recursiveness of it. However, Steel Song handles it pretty well because it has to be banished in a challenge to go back to your hand. We have Donald Duck, who is the best bodyguard, and he just fits with Daisy Duck so well. Kita's really strong. Bare Necessities also going to be pretty good in this matchup. So we for sure want to keep our Daisy. We have, like I said, the Bare Necessities. I was debating on the Kita. I'm like, well, we keep Daisy for sure. We keep Donald for sure. And then we also have Bare Necessities, which we can play on 2 if we have nothing better to do. But we do hit a Lilo. Opponent comes back with Robin Hood, which is actually pretty decent. We're going to ink a Goat, come back with Wendy. Quest for 2. Our opponent gets a Lawrence in their hand. Unfortunately, you know, it's nice when you hit like Grab Your Swords because you know it goes to the bottom. They ain't getting it back. We do hit a Kita. It's too early for Kita. We're going to go ahead, ink her, play Donald, give Daisy an extra lore. Quest, have our bodyguard. So if he shifts Robin Hood, he could take out bodyguard plus Wendy, which is going to hurt. Instead, we see the Lawrence come down, but we're already up to 7. He does use the Smee to trade off with the Donald. In the end, Smee takes that extra damage and dies to that. But we also have Baloo in hand. I'm like, at this point, I want to sing and see what his hand is, and that's unfortunate. You know, I'm like, we hit the Zeus because I can dump most of my hand here, right? I'm like, we're going to quest, and then I'm like, okay, play the Baloo because we're at 9, guaranteed 11 with the Baloo, and if he does clear it and takes out another threat, we're still 13 minimum. And we're a couple turns away from the whole new world anyway. So it's like I felt like I was in a pretty good spot, being able to now go ahead, quest. We go up to 14, threatening 19. However, they do have enough damage on board where Lawrence can take out Baloo, Lawrence can take out Daisy, and then Robin Hood take out the Wendy. So if we quest, we go up to 14. I should have inked the library here though, because we knew the whole new world's coming down. That's the only mistake, I guess, in this first replay. Just knowing the whole new world's in hand, inking the library, playing the Lilo plus Daisy, though. They had no way. Grab Your Swords is the only thing that's going to save them here, because if he gets rid of the Baloo, we go to 16, and then we still have Daisy plus Lilo to go ahead and get to 20. So there's really nothing our opponent was going to be able to do. They weren't able to win, so the AI just has them quest up to enough. Some of these replays you may see, I've said it in other videos, where I'll just start ignoring characters I have on board, and I do that for the simple reason of if the opponent played really stupidly, because the AI does from time to time, I don't think that I should just be like, oh, he has a whole new world or Under the Sea and didn't use it. That's an example that you're going to see in this video, by the way, and didn't use it. So my board should have been gone. It's not really fair to quest my whole board, so at one point I'm going to just ignore like the 5 characters on my board and only use the characters I play afterwards, because again, had the AI played with half a brain, which it doesn't have one, it's a computer, hopefully it stays that way, we ink, play Daisy, but if it played properly we would have lost our board anyway. So I just want to give you guys the most realistic, unrealistic experience we can. So again, hitting Daisy on 1 is incredibly important in this matchup. Good chance that I was going to say Piglet was not going to survive there. However, they don't have a damage song, so Piglet does survive, which is just really strong for us. I'm like, okay, what do I want to ink here? I'm like, I almost have to ink the Goat, but I'm like, I want to keep Bare Necessities. We're going to make a strong push. Having Goat in hand could be really good. And then Piglet quest for 4, quest for 2 with Daisy because of the Donald. Again, now damage spell, or song, sorry. Damage song can hurt a lot here. But if they don't have it, and they don't have a way to take out the Donald, which they don't, other than attack, which would have been smart. You lose both your Robin Hoods, but you just trade really well. Like, or Robin Hood Cinderella to take out Donald, and then Robin Hood take out the Piglet. You lose your board, you throw the Smee down, but then it's Smee against Daisy. Leaving me with that many characters, though, is just not very good. So we get to see going first a couple times. If you're going first, this deck is so incredibly strong. Like, into a bad matchup even, this deck is so incredibly strong going first. It's going second. It's losing the die roll. It's if you're in a best of two, or not best of two, but a 2-game format tournament. How do you win then? So this time against Steel Song, we're going to go ahead and go second. Our opponent inks and comes back with their own Daisy. So maybe they're going to go a little aggro. We come back with Lilo. We don't have Daisy, which is unfortunate, but they didn't come out with like Singer Cinderella, so that's actually okay too. We get the free card off the Daisy. I'm like, what do we want to ink here? What do we ink? I'm like, we got a lot of friends. Daisy's going to get us a few more cards. We're going to ink the friends. Play the Simba. Now we have our bodyguard. He's going to lose Robin Hood, or he can shift Robin Hood, take out the Simba. Instead, we see a Whole New World get hit off the aerial. Again, getting us that Gale to hand. I'm like, okay, we know Whole New World's coming. Could potentially sing it this turn. So I'm like, I want to get rid of Robin Hood. I don't want shift Robin Hood threat. I don't want to deal with that whatsoever. I'm like, we got a bodyguard, and I can just double up here and play multiple characters. So if we get hit with the Whole New World, Naveen Whole New World, so strong. Because now you still have Ariel if you hit like a grab your swords off that. Or Zeus. Zeus is pretty good, gets rid of the Daisy. Then Daisy taking out the Simba. But Lilo Piglet here, we're still in a decent spot. We don't have a bodyguard in hand. A couple libraries. Library is really good in this deck, by the way. Better than Castle. We come back with Daisy, and then we can go ahead quest with the Piglet, quest with the Lilo. Then we're going to play the Snake. And I'm like, what do we want to bounce? I'm like, yeah, let's bounce the Piglet so we can save it. Play a Maleficent. We're threatening 5 ready. Strength of the Raging Fire takes out Snake. Do I agree with that? I think you play the Robin Hood and then you sing it and you take out the Daisy. That's the better play. Leave me with Snake on board, get rid of the Daisy. However, Naveen, Ariel, double Daisy, Robin Hood, not looking the greatest. It's 7-9. We're gotta figure something out at this point. Like, we can, however, quest Daisy, quest Maleficent, go to 13, play Kita. Now, we don't have to worry about getting challenged, right? We just have to worry about board wipes or damage songs. And if we don't get hit by a damage song, can we hit something like a goat that gives us that extra lore? Because we can threaten lethal. I'm like, is there any scenario here? I'm like, if I play double Piglet, okay, and he's gonna then clear Daisy and Maleficent if I play double Piglet. Then if I get a third character down next turn, like Kita, I go to 19. Maybe that's the play, but at the same time, what, 4? So Daisy would be 2, Daisy would be 2. The others challenge my board. He goes to 9, so 6, he goes to 13. Yeah, he'd be threatening lethal anyway. So playing double Piglet, I'd be in the same scenario where both Piglets have to stick. Can't get hit by grab your swords. I felt like Kita loses to grab your swords less than the double Piglet playline. We almost lost the game there. We save it. But either way, it's coming down to I need Goat. However, Zeus taking out Kita hurts a lot. So we can go to 17, and we hit a Donald too. So I said Goat, but Donald would do just as good. Donald now coming down puts us to where we can get to 18, which that Kita would have, again, been 20. What do you do, right? We only have 6 ink, so even singing Friends, I guess sing Friends, play Donald, hopefully you hit a second Donald would really have been the only play. Because we don't have enough ink, so play Donald, then just, or no, because we can't sing Friends, we had hard play the Friends, so there was nothing we could do. We can get to 18, and that's it. Again, losing the Kita, having that Zeus, any damage spell, because even if it was Storm on Maleficent puts us in that same boat. We'd have Kita, not Maleficent. But going second into probably one of your worst matchups, and the deck actually held its own pretty well, and it can compete, and like I said, versus Steel Song, you want to really hit your Daisy on 1. Like, Daisy is so important. On 2, Piglet's not incredibly important because it can force interaction though, and it can clear out some of those songs that you're worried about, which means they don't have them later. So Piglet on 2 isn't bad. It's just not the greatest either, just from the inherent reason of it has 2 willpower. It dies to the majority of their songs that are going to be coming down in its way. But again, I don't shy away from Piglet, especially if you can follow that up with Donald. And if you only get that 1 quest off the Piglet, it's not the end of the world, because again, you're in a bad matchup. You got to kind of take what you can get at some point. So Daisy goes, we go ahead. I'm like, well, might as well just get it to our hand. Opponent, AI's a not nice person, by the way. Can't say what I was going to say. YouTube and all. And they like challenge and play their hand out like, oh, I got game. Quest? Nah, I'm going to challenge you. Play this, ink this, sing this. Okay, now I'm going to quest and win. So now we're against Pete's Bounce House. I just did a video on this deck as well with replays. This is a deck that I have a strong chance to play for the set. I think that it's incredibly strong. I think it's probably better than I gave it credit for initially. And yeah, pretty good. So moving on forward. Where are we at? Hit the button. Get that out of your way. First, Pete's Bounce House. We're going first here. Again, going first, the strategy is simple. Win. You want to hit a 1-drop. You want to hit a 2-drop. You want to hit a 3-drop. At that point, you're doing really well. Sven, by the way, this card's really good. Quest for 2. Readies the card in that late game. Gives you a strong chance to hit for 4 lore the following turn. Very good. 2 being the Sven, 2 being the card you readied. We're going to ink the Kita, play the Maleficent. I was like, I actually like this hand because I have Maleficent, Piglet, Donald, Sven. At that point, that's game, and I had 3 ink in hand, so I didn't even mulligan because I'm on the play, and I had my 1 through 4 turn with ink in hand. So I was like, I even have the toolboxiness, depending what I draw, of the bare necessities, of the friends on the other side. So I actually really, really liked where my hand was. Amethyst Steel can also be an aggro-esque deck. It has a much better mid to late game than hyper aggro decks truly do. Pete actually hurts his hand a lot. I played not very many action cards, but I happen to have 2 of them in my hand. So we're going to ink the 1, quest, and then quest. Could have argued, I thought about challenging there to take out the Robin Hood, just to prevent that shift Robin Hood playline, and maybe that was the smarter play. But at the same time, I'm like, I got Donald, I can slap down the library, then I got Piglet, I got Maleficent. I still think I'm in a pretty good spot. Now Robin Hood should take out the Piglet. Goat comes down. They take out the Maleficent. Maleficent should have taken out a Maleficent, so he'd only be at 10. But I would have nothing on board. He'd be at 10, threatening, what, 6? So at that point, though, 2... I don't know. I guess it's a horse apiece. It's probably should have played it out better on their part. But at the same time, it works out decent where we go Piglet and then Sven. And now on our turn, we're going to be able to go throw another character down and quest for the 5 that we needed. So again, it ends up not really mattering, but like interactions like that, when you're this deck up here against hyper aggro, sometimes you have to just not quest. Even like with a Maleficent there, they should have Robin Hood into the Piglet, that would trade, and then Maleficent take out my Maleficent. So I guess they would actually had 1 less because Robin Hood also would have been gone, but they'd still have the Maleficent Pete on board. A couple less lore. Like I said, in the end, it doesn't end up mattering because they wouldn't have had enough to win. They would have only been able to go to 15 because they would have had 5, not 6. And then we would win on our turn. So this time we're going second, though. Going second against the Amethyst Steel Pete bounce deck. So what can you expect? My build, I have like a mid-grow type, like set 4 type purple steel deck. So I like the Maleficent plus Robin Hood turn 1s. You might also see Captain Hook turn 1. So Captain Hook could be something you could see. And then on 2, you know, whether it's a Smee, that's probably the most common card to come down. But we're not necessarily worried about Pete too much. So you can always put your actions back. But we have that a 1-2 play line in Daisy, Wendy, Donald. We hit a couple more ones. We hit our Piglet, so Wendy can go away. So once again, we hit Daisy. Can't even talk. Daisy, Piglet, Donald. I'm like, quest. Yeah, we can go ahead and quest. Because just like the Steel Song matchup, Daisy having 4 here is so good. However, personally, I think you leave the Piglet on board. You play the Storm. You hit 2 on Daisy. You attack Daisy with the Robin Hood. And now Daisy's gone. I still have Piglet, but next turn Robin Hood could clear the Piglet. Again, AI does not play optimally all the time, so that's why I said, always say, like, don't go bragging about winning on ink decks. It's, I know I said this deck is near unbeatable when you go first. I still agree with that. I still think it's true. Doesn't mean I get the best examples of it online. What I just did there, I really like to do. Shift Robin Hood is so strong, and if they get to shift it instead of hard playing it, it's so good. If they have to hard play it now, like turn 5, I'm okay with that. It just kind of puts me ahead in value that way. So that's why I like to Donald say crash in at that point. Plus because Donald survives it, so he still puts 2 on the Benja. Whereas if our opponent did something else, it's a good chance that it just remains essentially the same. We can come back with Kita, protect our whole board for a turn, essentially go to 15 with Baloo on board, which means essentially 17. He is a bodyguard too, so we're sitting in a really good spot here. What would hurt a lot? Grab your swords doesn't even necessarily hurt that much. Like, Daisy did so much for this deck, and I don't know how to say it any different. Like, 4 willpower is, like I said, it's so good because trying to crash into her turns 1 and 2 just isn't very effective, and the songs from Steel Songs is not that effective. Like, she just does so much for this deck. Giving them the extra cards usually not going to make or break the game because you're trying to win so fast anyway. And then Baloo. Baloo's actually been putting in so much work. I really like him. I might bump him up to 4. I just got to look at my uninkable count because I don't like running too many uninkables. I really don't. That's why we're only on 2 Baloos. Again, entire deck list is linked down below. For those wondering, though, I don't play the shift Kita line because you never really need to shift on 2. You never really need the extra ink anyway. Your curve isn't that high. You just play Kita on 5. You play Kita on 5. It gives you essentially an entirely free turn, and that's that. So technically, I end up losing this game. How do I lose this game? I have Daisy and Baloo here because he got rid of the Kita, and I was like full on expecting Baloo to be gone, get the 2 lore, and then just quest and win. So I'm like, okay, quest and win, and I quest. I'm like, I'm only at 19. Quest with Daisy here. Baloo crash into Snake or Smee because Baloo will die, and you get 2 lore, and you win the game. So just like the AI playing stupidly sometimes, I just played stupidly. I'm like, because I just had this whole, okay, Zeus hits that, quest and win, game over, quest and win. Well, pay attention, because I didn't pay attention, and I lost because of it. We're going second now against the red-blue deck, so Popsicle, Control. You want to get aggressive here. Going first, going second, you want to get aggro here. Whether they start to play things like Queen or Sisu Daring Visitor, it could help them into the aggro matchups because they also have Brawl already. But going first or going second against this deck, be aggressive. Be aggressive. We have Lilo. That's really good. I keep the Bare Necessities as ink or an option to hit something out of their hand like a Brawl or just something strong. We do see another 1-drop in Maleficent, which I'm actually okay with. The Queen comes down. Normally they'd hold that in their hands, so then I feel safer questing. But at the end of the day, it's there. They had it. Maybe there's, I don't know. No, there's really no reason for it. We're going to go ahead, play the Dolores, and come back with 2 more Maleficents. Quest the Lilo, knowing we're going to lose her, but I get double Maleficent coming back. There's that Daring Visitor, which actually hurts, so now we lose 2 of our characters. But we do have a bodyguard in Baloo, who's also going to guarantee us 2 more lore, so we can quest there. They could challenge, take it out, but there's a Brawl, so Brawl takes out Maleficent. They actually had a lot of answers, Queen, Sisu, and Brawl. However, their hand is getting pretty low pretty fast. We still got to 4. and we have more aggro in hand. So we see Brawl and Be Prepared. I'm going to leave them with that Be Prepared because we know it's in hand. It's a lot less scary to worry about when you know what's in their hand. Grammatala comes down. We do have that Sven too, and we hit a Baloo. So this Baloo here is going to put in work now because we can go Baloo, then we're not losing the advantage of Sven. Like, I almost quested there. I'm like, no, we got to play that, get it down, because if you play Sven and ready the Baloo, it kind of defeats the whole purpose when we lose our Piglet. That's not what we want. We got 2 bodyguards now. Grammatala could take one out, absolutely. Our opponent is gonna not do it. I guess Be Prepared in hand, you're at 7 ink. Go ahead, quest. But at the same time, you take it out, I get the 2 lore. I go to 10. My turn, if I play a character, I go 1, 2, plus 5. I go to 15. Be Prepared makes me to 17. It's just a poor spot for our opponent to be in, because now we get to go to 13 with 2 Baloos on board, knowing Be Prepared is coming. So I'm like, well, I'm just not going to really do a whole lot, right? Like, we go to 13 with double Baloo, and we're going to get hit by a Be Prepared, and we're going to lose our board. So why put extra characters down? That's why Bare Necessities there is so strong. And then the AI admits defeat. The AI admits defeat and plays Dig a little deeper. Again, they don't take into consideration like Baloo's effect to gain lore. They're like, oh, they can just go to 18. They can't win this turn. I don't need to play Be Prepared. It's the imperfect science of the AI. However, even if they played it, again, we'd go to 17, having the Sven, the Piglet, the library now. I think we'd be in a really, really good spot because they'd only have 1 card in hand. So being able to say, even just throw the Sven down and say answer it, because if you don't have another Be Prepared or Medusa specifically, it's game over. Again, we saw the Be Prepared. We knew the Be Prepared. They should have played the Be Prepared. This time we're going to go ahead and go first. And lo and behold, we have Lilo, we have Maleficent, we have Piglet, we have Donald. Our opponent comes out with Vitalisphere as well, which is the best case scenario for us. A couple more Maleficent. So we hit this playline both games. I mean, first time was Daisy. We see the 1 jump. We're going to 8. This game's already over before it even starts. Ink the Kita, play the Piglet, play the Maleficent. I'm like, at this point, they don't have a board wipe. I'm just going to flood the board, go ahead, go to 8, and now next turn I'm threatening lethal because Donald Duck can go ahead and give an extra one. We have 8. We're going to put 9. So we can go to 17 now. Again, 17, that 3 from Piglet would have been 20. So we would have been able to win on turn 4. Turn 4, 20 lore. Crazy. Like I said, if this deck goes first, you're probably going to win. Queen comes down, can't take out the Donald Duck anyway, so it's not going to matter. In this matchup specifically, if you get to go first, you should be winning that game 9 times out of 10, unless you just brick really, really bad. 1 more match we got here, or 2 more games, however we're looking at that 2-game format match, however you want to call it. So much talking. I mentioned I record a few of these at the same time, so like I said, the next recording session I do, I'll slow it down. Instead of doing as fast as this is, I'll slow it down a little bit. Usually I do, if I can talk through it without having to pause too much, I kind of leave it. And I know I don't necessarily say every single little thing that happens, but I don't think you need me to narrate what you're watching. I try to give, I guess, more my thoughts as to thinking it through, and also pointing out things that the opponent does. And even on Pixelborn, I would do that. And I had some of my opponents in the comment sections on videos, like talking about why they did things. But I think it's the best learning experience if you can watch yourself play and watch your opponent play and just be like, they should have did this or this, I should have did this, and just try to learn from how the game plays out. But anyway, verse discard, they're going first. So what worries me about discard? Losing my hand. Well, lucky for us, we dump our hand out pretty quickly anyway. So by turn 4 or 5, I'm probably not going to have a hand because of myself. So I just need to worry about the board. And when I'm worrying about the board, usually that means Under the Sea. So Under the Sea is going to be their biggest advantage versus us. Trying to get rid of high cost cards. You want to get to low cost cards. You don't necessarily want the bouncers because they're going to be discarding you. You're going to be losing that hand advantage anyway. If you can go for bodyguards, it's so much better. Again, spam out lower cost characters. We happen to get a couple daisies, which is really strong. They hit a little Kita, which actually hurts. Diablo comes down. Little Kita hurts because it makes the shift Kita cheaper to pull off, and then they can go ahead and, once again, Under the Sea, which is just going to put in a ton of work. Our opponent gets a Prince John and an Ursula off the top. We're giving them all kinds of cards, and they go right there. Right there they did it. They discarded Under the Sea. That would not happen in an actual game. You'd play Ursula, and there's no reason to shift Ursula right away either. The AI does this all the time on here, or if it can shift, it does. Because you can't quest with her and hit my hand right away anyway, and given my hand, it's actually one of the few hands that they would be able to do something about it. Little Kita comes down, so it's like no matter what I do, if they shift Kita, I'm in trouble. We have the friends, so we can go ahead and draw some. We're going to go ahead, quest, and quest. But again, at this point, we're at 16. Under the Sea should be in their hand, unless they had no other songs. But even if they had no other songs, they still would have had the other Ursula on board. And now at this point, because they drew a bunch with the Diablo, now if they have a different song, discard the song, shift the Ursula. 4, 3, 1 is 8. My board is gone, so I should not have a board anymore. So here on my next turn, I'm going to just essentially pretend that everything I have on the board is not there. Also with the Kita, so even if I had a bigger character, it wouldn't have mattered. Ursula sings, hits our friends, so we still would have had friends in hand until that Ursula comes down and whiffs. So even our hand wouldn't have changed at all. But in this scenario, we can go ahead, play Maleficent. Like, we're at 16 with essentially Maleficent on board. Again, because had they played properly, the rest of our board would be gone. They go to 11. And we're sitting, I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They go to 19. There's no card in this specific build that gets them to 20. Quest with the Maleficent, throw it on the Dolores, throw it on the Maleficent. We're at 18, threatening 4. And they're threatening 19. But again, other than another Under the Sea, there's nothing they can do to win the game, and I'm okay with that. So once again, ignoring all of this because it shouldn't have been there had they played better. And then we can go ahead, quest, and we have one last game to go. This time we're going first against the same deck. So I'm like, okay, again, low cost cards, aggro. I wanted the extra ink. That's why we decided to keep the Simbo, because I had a lot of, like the 2 Maleficents and the Daisy. I want ink because the plan was Daisy 1, Maleficent 2, and then come back with Donald on 3 for the bodyguard, because I'm not too worried about Daisy getting challenged and taken out. Again, just the beauty of that card. Card is so good. Diablo comes down, not too worried about it. We can go ahead, ink, play, and then we're going to go ahead and quest for 7 more. We go all the way up to 9. And our opponent could go Kita into, or Kita Diablo into Donald, Kita into Maleficent, but I'm still at 13 then. Or shift Kita. But I mean, you can't really challenge my characters then at that point. So I don't like the way they played it out, but I would still be at 13 plus Goat is 14. And they would have just the 1 Kita that's damaged on board. So if I'm at 14 with Goat and 4 more, realistically, again, I'm in a spot that's probably not going to matter, but it doesn't end up mattering. So all in all, what do I think about Amber Amethyst? I think it's incredibly strong. I think going first, it's near unbeatable. It's not unbeatable. Nothing is. Especially if you're in a local setting and people know you're on aggro, they could absolutely play to stop you. I think it's just so fast and so strong. Even if you build your deck to stop it, you have to see those cards early enough. And I think going first, it's just such a strong, fast, powerful deck. Going second, though, can be very tricky. I think it has the toolbox, and if you mulligan, or depending how your opponent hits, but at the same time, sometimes you're just going to lose games because you're going second. So in best of 3, if you lose the die roll, that's not good. In 2-game format, well, ties don't quite get it done either. So aggro can be very difficult to pilot. I've seen people say like, oh, it's so easy, you just turn cards sideways. I disagree. I think it requires a lot of thinking. Your mulliganing is so crucial. Knowing your matchups is almost more important than most other decks are. Like the Amethyst Steel Pete bounce deck. Like going second, you know your deck really good in and out. You know the other deck's all right. Like you got a chance going second because you have so many good cards. This deck though, going second is so hard, but it's still possible, and that's where the thinking, the mulliganing, the knowing your matchups becomes so important. But that's enough for today. Let me know down below what you guys think. Do you like these style videos? Am I doing too many replays? I could cut this down. I can do 4 replays instead of 8 if that would be better, just for time's sake. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Take care.